Okay, guys, we are now only a few days away, 5 days away on the calendar here from the Academy Awards. Just got a haircut just in time, in case you guys were sick of the semi-shaggy, semi-hippie look. Anyways, but yeah, we're getting close to the end of the season here, and it's been a weird season. I mean, there's been all sorts of things we don't normally see in the Oscar race. In here, we've got a couple big blockbusters back in the Best Picture race this year. Spielberg has a movie that's kind of middle of the line as far as number of nominations, and even though it had a lot of technical opportunities to get nominations, it didn't. We could see, for the first time in over a decade, closer to a decade and a half, we could see the first Best Picture winner take more than 5 Academy Award wins at the end of the road. It really is an interesting year here, and we could see, like we saw. Well, I won't say exactly, but it could be kind of like some years where we see, okay, we've got a clear 1, 2, 3, and maybe the 2 and the 3 you can switch around. Some people will switch the 1 and the 2 around depending on what they have picked for Best Picture. As far as you've got a sequence of which film is where. This year it seems pretty obvious. Your top 3 are Everything Everywhere All at Once, Banshees, and Fabelmans. What order you put them in is sometimes up to the beholder there, but I think almost everybody has Everything Everywhere All at Once now winning, and I'm not deviating from that at all. I mean, you'd have to be it's a fool's errand at this point to pick something else, but it's kind of a scenario where there's very likely, I would say almost extremely likely, that Everything Everywhere takes a few awards, the other 2 get shut out because there's no, again, the way things are lining up, unless you're calling for an upset here or there, there's no obvious path for Banshees or for Fabelmans to win a particular category. And, yeah, at least you can say with films also up for Best Picture, like All Quiet on the Western Front, they've got a gimme in the international feature category. That's a gimme. Top Gun, at least in the sound category, it feels like a gimme there. Elvis feels like, okay, it might not win all of them, but some of those tech categories, like either of the design categories, cinematography possibly, it's got some possibilities there. Avatar, they have a gimme there, it seems, in visual effects. Even Women Talking feels like, okay, adapted screenplay is really looking like it's going your way. Again, it's going to be a major upset if you don't win that one. So, we've seen years like 2013, there were a bunch of Best Picture nominees that year that didn't get anything. Even 2019 was a year where they relatively spread the wealth, but even a top film like The Irishman couldn't nail down a particular category. Let's see, last year, wasn't there only like one film last year, too, that didn't get anything? That was a major nominee. My memory is failing me right now, but I'm pretty sure there was one that just didn't win anything. Well, Don't Look Up, I don't think took anything. And actually, was that it? Well, Licorice Pizza too, I guess, and Nightmare Alley. So there were a couple there, but yeah. So it's kind of strange though that it's when we look at like last year, Don't Look Up, we knew it wasn't going to be a player in most of the major categories it was up for. Licorice Pizza, we knew it was going to be a real struggle for that one to win. It had a shot in original screenplay, but it seemed like the wind was going in favor of Belfast last year. Nightmare Alley, we knew, unless it was, like I was at one point calling it to upset for, which category again? I think it was production design last year I had it in. Yeah, production design. Even then we knew it was going to be an upset and it needed a lot of help if it was going to win that category. It's like that. And, if we go back just a couple more years, just look through a few of them there. I think Trial of the Chicago 7 is maybe a good example there where they just couldn't find a category for that one. And you could argue, that if that one was number 3 that year, number 2 was probably Minari, and that one at least had supporting actress. Let's see, I guess we can look at a couple more here. Let's see, 2017, I feel like our major players that year were probably Get Out, Three Billboards, and Shape of Water, and it's like, yep, all 3 of them had a place or 2 to be awarded. La La Land, and I guess Moonlight would be a 2, but almost everybody again had La La Land clear out front that year. And if you had to argue, I think Manchester by the Sea or even Hacksaw Ridge could have been number 3 that year. All 3 of them took at least one prize. So it's like I don't feel like this is a scenario we get into very often, where it's like, okay, you've got one film up here, and this is, by the way, when they've had this either shifting scale with number of nominees, or if they've had a solid 10 for Best Picture. It's just really rare to have that top three where it's like, okay, two of your top three films supposedly in the race are going home empty-handed. So but at least that's the scenario I'm calling for right now. So we're 5 days out. So I wanted to go ahead, since it's been a while, I haven't done an update. We've now heard from all the guilds. We know where they're leaning toward, and I think I have everything picked out here, don't I? For who won each of the respective guilds. If not, I can find the list here somewhere. But if I go through it and I'm kind of struggling there. Obviously, the shorts categories, we don't really have too much to go off of there, and we'll have a couple other of those feature categories where we'll have fewer examples, and stuff. There's still major places they can win and other award shows, of course, but we'll get into that here. I guess we can just start with Best Picture, and we'll just say what everybody already knows. It's Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it's don't overthink it. Don't be like 2020 with Nomadland versus Trial of Chicago 7, possibly versus Minari. Don't overthink it. It's Everything Everywhere All at Once. The SAG sweep, even though it didn't do extremely well at BAFTA and it didn't win the top prize at Golden Globes, everywhere else it's done really well. Some major guild wins here and there, including Ace Eddie for the comedy prize. Critics' Choice went all in on it and gave it 4 or 5 major awards. So, don't overthink it. Director's race, I'm also not going to overthink this one. The Danielses have this one. And it's kind of weird. I was looking through. I've got a project that I'm working on. I'm writing out the script for it. It's going to be a little bit of a different thing than what we've seen on the channel before. And I can't promise when it's out. I can't say exactly because it's a time-consuming thing, and especially here in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, I've had virtually no time to myself to do anything, especially work on projects like books and stuff. So and screenplays and everything. So I've the little time I've had to work on it, I've gotten some stuff done. I've got the major outline on it done. I just need to get some individual chunks now done, and then throw it all together in editing. And that process, I want to not only get the first, because it's going to be a multi-part thing, of course. You know me, I always bite off more than I can chew. I want to get more than just the first 1 or 2 videos, parts of it done before I start posting them. But it's going to be different. It's going to be a different thing. It's related to the Academy Awards. I'm playing to my strength here. I'm not going all out there and doing something else. By the way, for other videos, Selection Sunday is also going to be the day of the Oscars. So, because if you follow me, the last couple of years I've done some March Madness predictions as well, just because I like to throw them out there. And last year I did very well the first round, but after that it just went all to hell. All my picks were gone after the second round. So the thing is, that is Selection Sunday is the day of the Oscars, so I won't be able to do a video night of, which is good, because it's good to sit back and not just go with your immediate picks when it comes to something like that. Just, have some time, think about it. So I probably Tuesday or Wednesday of next week I'll have that posted and ready to go. Anyhow, so I just reminded that because after that, I'll probably, whatever time I can, I'll get to the videos here. But again, that might be something, and it is Oscar related. I'm not going to do anything too far out there yet. There's some other ideas I have for other videos in the future, but I want to try this other one first. It's again something that plays to my strengths, something that I would assume the majority of the people who are watching this right now and subscribed, you guys are here for this particular content. Academy Awards predicting, movie talk, all that stuff. So it fits into that mold for sure. And further branching out from that, I think will be other videos over time, but we'll get there when we get there, kind of thing. Now that I've totally interrupted that, I was reminded though, and why I bring that up, because I was kind of looking through some of the recent Oscar picks and stuff, and it's like, you look at some of the directors over years that have won the Academy Award on one of their first major projects, like Mikhail Hazavada, whatever his name was, the guy that won for The Artist. It's like nobody's heard a peep from him since. You can go back to Cimino with The Deer Hunter. Next film crashes a major studio, and he's never heard from again. Not to say that the Danielses are destined for the same fate there, but it's just kind of odd that they come off of Swiss Army Man, which I did not see, and basically from what I've heard though, the people that sought that movie out, that wanted to see it, loved it. The very casual people that were like, oh, I recognize an actor in that. Oh, okay, it's Harry Potter, blah blah. They're like, what the fuck is this? And they hated it, absolutely hated it. So I don't know, but whatever they do next. I have a weird feeling that it's going to be more that scenario versus, oh boy, let me think here. I don't know, like a Paul Thomas Anderson or somebody who comes out of the gate with Boogie Nights, gets a couple Oscar nominations and continues to have films. Maybe not all of them are major hits with the Oscars, but he's got a presence through his career. I mean, you can name a dozen other directors. I'm sure that one just kind of sprung to my mind as well. But yeah, for this award, no, the Danielses have it. The DGA win pretty much locked it up, and really the only other place they've lost is BAFTA. But yeah, again, BAFTA was like the only place that didn't like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Okay, Best Actor. This is a legit two-way battle now. Legit two-way battle. You've got Austin Butler versus Brendan Fraser here, and I did switch foolishly to Austin Butler at SAG, only to then see Brendan Fraser come through for The Whale. And, man, you know what? I just look at it, and maybe I'm just letting pride take too much with me right now, but I feel like, again, I've picked Brendan from the beginning, and I don't want to shoo away from him. Even though I get it, I get where Austin, he has the BAFTA win, and the BAFTA, vote over, repeat voters, I should say, the crossover between voters is significant. For sure. So, and I'm very wary of that. I'm very much keeping that front of my mind. Also, I think generally speaking, through the evening, we're going to hear Elvis named a lot more times, not only as a nominee, but potentially as a winner, a lot more than The Whale. The Whale is really riding on Brendan Fraser to win, and that's going to be probably its only win. We'll see. I have one other category that I'm really up in the air about, and we'll talk about it when we get to it, but that's probably it. So it's a tough choice right now, and I might be tempted to go with Austin Butler, who's again, like we said, in the Best Picture nominee, and he's got a significant win there with BAFTA. And BAFTA, again, was a place where The Whale was not only up for makeup and supporting actress, it was also up for screenplay. Here at the Oscars, The Whale is not up for screenplay. And it was also, after the PGA nomination stuff, it felt like The Whale was kind of riding a wave, so to speak, and was going to end up being a Best Picture nominee, but it fell short. So, yeah. I think it kind of also feels a little bit like the Chadwick Boseman thing, because it's like, okay, we were all kind of thinking the acting branch is the biggest branch. We know they like that movie. SAG went really well with Ma Rainey's. They gave it both Best Actor and Best Actress. There's less voter overlap, but again, you look at that and you're like, okay, it felt like the actors were going to save him, but it was Anthony Hopkins that won. And in a similar way, I want to say it this year too, but I think maybe when we look at this, a couple years, 3-4 years down the road, we might be saying, yeah, Brendan Fraser was excellent in The Whale and probably should have won. I made that argument also with Anthony Hopkins, where it's like, yeah, for me personally, I would probably have still, and I haven't really rewatched either movie a lot of times since, but when it comes to Ma Rainey's versus The Father from that year, I still think personally I would have picked Chadwick, just because I thought, regardless of the circumstances around him, I just think that performance was great, something truly great, something we hadn't seen from him as an actor up to that point in his career. And even though Anthony Hopkins, I do have, I've had family members that have gone through Alzheimer's, so I have a very soft spot in my heart for that performance and for that film too. And it's a devastating performance to watch, and it's a devastating film to watch, and it really hit home for me. But at the same time, when you look at it a little more clinically, a little more sterilely, it's like, okay, we know Hopkins has a lot of great performances in him, and not to say his performance was easier than Chadwick's. You could argue it is a lot harder than Chadwick's was. Some could argue. I don't know. I guess that's entirely up for debate and entirely subjective. But I don't know. I feel like you can name off another like big grandiose performances like that from Anthony Hopkins. You can probably name off a couple here and there, whether it's Amistad or Silence of the Lambs, of course, or you could name off Nixon. You can name off. There's probably one or two other ones in there I'm missing. Shadowlands, everybody likes him in. Just to name off a few. You can only name off the one probably for Chadwick, if you're not counting something like 42, the Jackie Robinson movie. But yeah, I don't know, and that's again, I haven't quite, I haven't had time to watch Elvis, so I don't know if it's a night and day difference there in the performances and how generally well they're liked and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough call, and for the moment, I'm sticking with Brendan Fraser. Through the week, I'm going to really look. I'm going to see, okay, what else, has anything shifted? Have we heard from a lot of voters who are saying, I'm voting for Austin Butler, but I love Brendan Fraser, or vice versa? Are they saying, I voted for Brendan Fraser, but I love Austin Butler? Because, again, it's whoever they love. It's whoever I didn't vote for them, but I love this. That has been the trend. That's Olivia Colman over Glenn Close. That's Anthony Hopkins over Chadwick. That's what I need to hear. Once I hear that, that's when I know who I'm going to go with. And very much I have to say that's true for Best Actress as well. Holy cow. It is tempting to switch to Michelle Yeoh after the win at SAG. But I looked it up today, and I looked through, and I didn't do a thorough search. I didn't look up every last thing, every last major award. But I cannot remember a time when we had somebody win at SAG, only at SAG, amongst the major award shows, that's including BAFTA, Golden Globes, and Critics' Choice, aside from the Oscars, who won Best Actress at SAG after losing the other three and still won the Oscar? The answer is there is nobody that has ever done that. Michelle could be the first, though, very easily, because, again, she's riding the wave of being on a Best Picture winner, And basically, again, it's like what we've heard a little bit. You could hear it in the room there on the night at SAG. Everybody was ecstatic when they called Michelle. When I think it was Jeff Bridges called Michelle's name. Everybody was ecstatic. And again, that could have been just the room. That just could have been because, again, SAG loved that movie arguably more than some of the other award shows, maybe other than Indie Spirits, which also gave it everything it was nominated for except for one of the supporting actresses. So, yeah, let's be wary of that. And also, remember, too, that the Jamie Lee Curtis win could be very deceptive. I'll get to that category here in a minute. That could be very deceptive. And that could be very much okay, they were just drinking the tea of Everything Everywhere All at Once at that particular award show. So we'll get there. So here's the thing, though. For now, I'm just going off of the math. And I'm going off of, okay, again, it's like I said the night of the SAG Awards. It's really going to be weird to see all four of the BAFTA winners get shut out at the Oscars. It's going to be weird if it's Austin Butler losing, Cate Blanchett losing. We know Barry Keoghan probably going to lose, and Kerry Condon likely to lose. I'll just say that. We'll come back to that one. But Kerry Condon likely to lose. I'll just say that. So, yeah, so let's, looking at it that way, okay, who would be the one to fall then from the SAG winners? And, we know it's unlikely to be Q Kwan. We know he's pretty much got supporting actor, I would say 99.99% locked up. If he had won BAFTA, it would have been 100%. But without that, I don't think the Academy is desperate enough to throw him away as an Oscar winner and say, oh, we're giving it to one of the guys from Banshees. That is not a scenario I'm looking at all. So yeah, when we get to supporting actor here in a minute or two, yeah, we're nothing else to add to that. But for this one though, yeah, I gotta say it is tempting to switch to Michelle. And again, I want to hear the very same scenario here. I want to hear I voted for blank, but I love blank, or everybody loves blank, whoever the second person is. And the only scenario, though, by the way, while we're talking about it, the only scenario, though, where if I hear, I voted for, let's name an example here. I voted for Michelle Williams, but I love Andrea Riseborough. That's the one where I'm like, okay, then I have to disregard. Okay. Because I'm sorry, even though she was a surprise nominee to some people, I didn't really think it was going to happen. I didn't buy into it. but it happened, and I was glad I at least name checked her, a couple days before the Oscars, where I'm like, okay, I'm hearing rumblings that this could happen. I don't think so, but it could. And boom, there she was, and I was like, oh, okay, yep, that's one of those that I couldn't pull the trigger on. So that would be a massive upset, complete massive upset. I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. And by the way, I'm kind of thinking, I'm going to double check, because what I was talking about before with somebody who, loses everything, wins SAG, but then wins the Oscar. Let me go back to 2007, Marion Cotillard, when she won the Oscar. Let's just see here. Didn't she win everything else, though, for La Vie en Rose? She won BAFTA, and she won Golden Globes. The only place she did not win was Critics' Choice. Let me see, who was our winner at Julie's? It was Julie Christie at Critics' Choice. So that was okay. So I was just about to say that's weird. Actually, that Cate Blanchett was up that year for the. I think it was the. Is it the actual sequel or just the? She played Elizabeth again, basically. Weird that was a year that she was actually nominated, though. So and actually, I believe was she a double nominee that year? If that's the year I'm thinking of, I think she was a double nominee. Yeah, I'm Not There was also the same year, which she was nominated for. So yeah, that's true. So, and that's the other thing that's keeping me back, though. It is Cate Blanchett. She's already been awarded twice at the Oscars, and she's going to join a very exclusive club if she gets this third one. A very exclusive club. The Jack Nicholsons, the technically speaking, the Frances McDormands, the Meryl Streeps. The Daniel Day-Lewises, it's a very exclusive club, and there's probably Walter Brennan's also in there too, I think. There's not too many other ones, and that's just exclusively acting, by the way. I get, Frances was a nominee or a winner, I should say, for producing on Nomadland. That is absolutely true. So I'm not saying she didn't get a fourth one, but just on acting wins alone, you include Frances McDormand in that list for sure. So yeah, I feel like I'm kind of a little rambly here, but it's like, this category is really teetering here. There's a lot of possibilities here, and I don't know how much again, how much of this I'm just really wary of too, because I'm not really sure at this rate. I'm not betting on Everything Everywhere All at Once being a 6, 7, maybe even 8 time Academy Award winner this year. Again. You have to go back to Slumdog Millionaire before they introduced the whole 10 or up to 10, back to 10 nominees for Best Picture, which was a totally different era. It's an era where something like The Dark Knight was not going to be a Best Picture nominee. As much as it was a critical darling, and as much as it was a box office buffo, and as much as it felt like, okay, we might get a comic book movie in there finally, and it's one that doesn't feel like a comic movie. It feels like a hardcore drama that just happens to be a comic book movie. Still, the Academy couldn't put it in for Best Picture, and several other award shows that year didn't list it as one of their best films of the year. So, that it would be the first time since that era that we see it, and especially with a film like this, though, something like Slumdog Millionaire, it kind of plays to the Oscar audience, in its own way. Even something like The Hurt Locker, which had 5, or we've gone over this, it had 5 or 6 wins, but still, I think it was 5, right? Otherwise they would be, I've looked this up, and I don't know why I can't remember, but maybe it did have 6. Oh, good heavens, I can't remember anything anymore. It's like I have so many things that float around my head anymore, it's like, ugh. That was 6, 6 wins. So, so I guess, if it gets 7 or more, that's the era we're talking about. But The Artist was the last one to get 5 though. So, and that was just 2 years after The Hurt Locker. So they were kind of getting away from that. And then since then, it's like, okay, if you take home 3, you're having a great night as a Best Picture winner, like Coda did, like Green Book did, like Argo did, like 12 Years a Slave did. I think am I missing one? Moonlight had 3 as well. So that's kind of the area, the neighborhood we've been knocking on. Parasite had a great year when that got 4. Nomadland had 3, as I recall. Yeah, that had 3. Um, what else am I missing here? Yeah, Parasite got the 4. Shape of Water got 4. Birdman got 4. Or was it only 3? No, cinematography, screenplay, director, picture. Yeah, that got 4. So I think we've named them all. So yeah, I have without spoiling anything else, I do have Everything Everywhere All at Once getting 4. So I feel like it's in that neighborhood. Parasite, again, had this type of popularity when it came to the Oscars, and that came in as an underdog even, and pulled off 4. So could that underdog thing, and it's, could that, if Parasite going into the ceremony as popular as it was, as the underdog took home 4, Everything Everywhere All at Once going into the ceremony as the favorite, what does that do? Does that get more, or does that, keep it at a measured amount? We'll see. But for now, I've got Cate Blanchett still here, just because, again, I'm a little wary of all 4 of the BAFTA acting winners going home empty-handed. I'm also wary of that stunt, or that stat rather, about SAG. I'm really wary of that, and I just don't know. As much as I love the movie, and as much as I know it's gonna win, and I'm gonna be excited for it to win, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I just don't know if I can drink the Kool-Aid and say it's going to win 3 acting prizes, and it's going to get director and picture, and it's going to get screenplay, and it'll pick up a technical award or 2. I just can't drink the Kool-Aid on that, guys. I can't do it. I've been disappointed by some films in the past that I thought could overperform, like Social Network or stuff like that, or even though it was just mostly projection-wise, something like La La Land I thought was going to be in a really good neighborhood to win 7, 8, maybe even 9 Academy Awards, but that ended up with 6 and losing Best Picture, so there you go. Yep, like we said, supporting actor, Q Kwan, done. Supporting actress, this gets interesting. After the SAG win, I do have Jamie Lee Curtis bumped up into 2nd place now, and even though Angela lost at SAG, and everything, and she's not in a Best Picture nominee. Her and Hong Chow are the only 2 not in Best Picture nominees in this category. The thing with Jamie Lee Curtis is, this feels like a weird, and again, this has been my bias since I first saw the film, this feels like a weird movie to win an Oscar on. This feels weird to me. I'm not sure if I can even name them all, but for some of the supposed career achievement Oscar wins, like Leo DiCaprio and Paul Newman, arguably, with Color of Money, I feel like I'm missing some here. But for those type of wins, generally speaking, at least you can say, hey, there's something about the performance that really sticks out and says, hey, even if this wasn't their first win, you could make an argument that they would have won anyways. With Color of Money, it's like, okay, it could have been not only a makeup for some of the stuff that Paul Newman had lost for already, but it's like, hey, he likes this character of Fast Eddie, and he was as good this time as he was the first time 25 years previous. I think that's about right. Yeah, 25 years previous. With Leo, it's like, okay, he's got a couple really good scenes, but it's also all the stuff he did for real on the movie, and it was a bitter movie. It was a challenging movie. The weather was a big part of the movie, and the environment, doing it all for real with very little lighting. It was all natural light for the most part, from what I've heard on The Revenant. So it's like, okay, you can understand that argument at least, even if somebody like me was sitting there saying, okay, I get that it's a career achievement thing for Leo. But what about Michael Fassbender as Steve Jobs? Don't tell me that that's that's not a great role or a great performance. And yeah, I don't know. So again, that feels like one to me that it easily should have been Fassbender and not Leo. But anyways, so for this, it's like, yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis. It's like, yeah, she's the tax lady and she's got the hot dog fingers, and I don't know if that's enough for me to say it's a completely deserving win if she gets it. Again, I'm also really wary of saying that this film is going to be the next Network and be a 3-time, performance winner. By the way, that one and Streetcar Named Desire, both up for Best Picture and lost. So I don't know if you... and obviously we know Everything Everywhere All at Once is safe in the picture category, but still, not a great trend to follow if you're doing that. So yeah, that's just throwing that out there. So at the moment, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, I know Angela Bassett, it feels like we've cooled off her a little bit after she lost BAFTA and she lost at SAG. But, man, remember what happened with Beale Street and Regina King? She missed those last 2 nominations, but ended up winning. And at least Angela Bassett was nominated at the other 2 award shows. Now, that could be more of a sign of, ooh, she was up and they didn't pick her. That makes her case weaker. I understand that part. It's like, versus the Beale Street example with Regina King, it's like, okay, well, we don't know how she would have fared against Rachel Weisz at BAFTA. Or against, who was it? Amy Adams that won, I think, for... or no, not Amy Adams. Who was it? The one Emily Blunt at for A Quiet Place. We don't know how they would have fared against them, kind of thing. With this one, she was nominated, so we know how she fared against Carrie Condon, and we know how she fared against Jamie Lee Curtis at SAG. So the question is, okay, both of those award shows where the film that won, the performance that won, was by a film that particular award show loved. We know they loved Everything Everywhere All at Once at SAG, and we know they loved Banshees at BAFTA, as was expected. So the question is, how much does the Oscars love Black Panther? And I get it. It's not a Best Picture nominee. It doesn't have as many nominations as the first film. But it's weird because you know what else, too? I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be blocked by a couple things here at the Oscars. Number one, just personally speaking, I think the Nepo baby comment that she said at least twice in the award show at SAG, I legit think there's people out there now that were thinking I might vote for her, but then after the Nepo baby thing, drawing so much attention to it by saying it multiple times, and she might have even said it more than that after the award shows. What if that actually ends up hurting her? What if that put the idea in people's heads and now they're thinking Nepo baby, she's acknowledging it, therefore I can't vote for her? In a weird kind of psychological way, what if she is losing votes in that way? That could be weird. It would make sense, and part of me, as much as I'm not really a fan of this performance and I'm not really a fan of the fact that she's nominated and all that stuff, at the same time, though, I do acknowledge she's had a hell of a career. And a lot of that career did not lean on her being the daughter of Hollywood royalty. A lot of that just leaned on her talents and her quality as an actress and everything, It's like, and I believe John Carpenter when he said, I didn't cast her because she was the child of Hollywood royalty between Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh. I believe some of these other directors when they say, no, we just picked her because she was the right part or she was the right person for the role. I believe that. And, growing up watching her in different movies and stuff, it's like part of me, yes, wants to say, okay, it's going to feel good to see her have an Oscar on her mantle as well. And I get that. It's a personal battle for me, too, because it's like part of me does want to say she's going to win just for that and also to get it right. But the Nepo baby thing, the fact that it just kept coming up and she kept saying it and it was all that stuff. Because it's easy, if somebody else calls her that, then yeah, you can dismiss it. And everybody could say, oh, they're just jealous of the fact that she won. Or it's somebody in the Disney camp trying to spread that, around or whatever. It's easy to say that, but when it's her saying it, part of me just is maybe being a little, what's the word I'm looking for here? A little, whatever the word is. I can't think of it. Yeah, maybe a little dark about it, if you will. And that's for I had a better word in my mind, but it totally left me. But yeah, maybe a little pessimistic, I guess. I don't know. Again, there was a word that came to my head that just, good word that I don't normally use in an everyday sentence, but it totally left my brain. I'm sorry, but no, it feels, yeah, it just feels like there's going to be enough out there that, yeah, it's not going to do it. And again, when you look at recent Academy stuff with, where they're putting their multiple winners and stuff, they just haven't been favoring, especially in these top categories. We don't see many films just get a bunch of these top categories, in the last few years especially. You will have some cases where, okay, you can see 3 Billboards win a couple acting prizes, one of them in supporting and one of them in lead, as could happen here. But I don't know. It's just something is just off. And you know what's weird too? Carrie Condon. I'm not totally dismissing Carrie Condon. I know her only major win is BAFTA. Like we said through the season here, this is not really a star-making role. This is not a star-making performance. This is not something where it's like, oh, like Lupita. Lupita started getting cast in Star Wars and stuff after 12 Years a Slave started taking off. Carrie's not really getting. She's not getting cast in the next Avatar or the next Marvel project or whatever. We haven't heard that at least. Well, she's already been in Marvel, so I guess they would have to recast her in a new role because I think her character's done because she was just the AI for Tony Stark. But still, I don't know. At the same time, though, look at how much love Banshees has. It's just, look at how many nominations it has, and I get it. I was making the argument from the top. Banshees and Fabelmans are both probably looking at going 0 for 6 for Fabelmans, I think, and it'd be 0 for 8 for Banshees if my math is correct, somewhere in that neighborhood. But whatever, I don't know. I just, and again, especially with Banshees, that has 4 acting nominees. And they're not going to find a place to award it. I'm going to have to look up the history here. I can't think of a time when you had a film other than, okay, maybe The Turning Point. Maybe The Turning Point is the one example. Okay, American Hustle as well. Okay, I might have named a couple. I might have pulled a couple from my ass here. But Turning Point had at least 3, right? And that was, by the way, that was a bad night for that film. That had, 10 or 11 nominations, and they gave it nothing. That had 4 acting nominations. Anne Bancroft, Shirley MacLaine for actress, Mikhail Baryshnikov for supporting actor, and Leslie Brown for supporting actress. All 4 of them went home empty-handed. The quad from American Hustle, same deal. Let's see. The only other one I can think of is Color Purple, but I think Color Purple only had 3 acting nominees, 2 supporting and 1 lead. And we also know that one went, what was it? That one I think was also like American Hustle, 0 for 10. Turning Point might have been, was that 11? Yeah, I'm counting 11 right now, just based off the numbers here. But there are examples of that happening, but still, this is a more, unlike American Hustle, which had its share of technical nominations as well. It didn't dominate in the tech categories. It ended up with, because that one had 10, so 7 of its 10 were in above the line categories. But Turning Point had 7 out of its 11 in top categories. Color Purple, I believe, it did not get director, so 5 of its 10 were in above-the-line categories. The thing is with Banshees, it has, I'm going to make sure I have this right, because I had it, I said 8, but that doesn't sound right. I think it has 9, now that I'm thinking about it. Let me find the list again here. Okay, picture, director, actor, 2 supporting actors, supporting actress, screenplay, editing, score. It does have 9. Okay. But of those 9, 7 of those are in above-the-line categories. 7 of them. 7 of the 9. Boy. I don't know. Part of me just says, okay, there's something weird here, and we could see Carrie Condon somehow pull it off. It's a weird feeling where, okay, if Jamie Lee comes in with Angela as the favorite going into SAG, but then, she lost SAG, okay, now Jamie Lee's in there. What if they start picking off votes from each other, and somebody like Carrie, who could have just enough passion votes there from people who like the movie, people that want to see the movie rewarded, what if there's just enough in there? Could be. And I get, and the other thing too, that is true. Some people might point to it, because it happened here not too long ago, but Sylvester Stallone and Creed versus, oh God, don't tell me I'm forgetting his name. Shit, I'm forgetting his name. Oh, come on. Martin. No, not Martin. Jesus Cripes. Oh, come on. Mark Rylance. I got there. Wow. Took a detour, but I got to Mark Rylance. Mark Rylance in a Best Picture nominee. Sly was not. Had only won at BAFTA. Yep, we've heard all those comparisons and stuff, but I don't know. with that one, remember, Bridge of Spies, I think, was a 5 or 6 nominee film that year. Wasn't up for director or anything like that, but yeah. Also did better at BAFTA than it did at the Oscars as far as number of nominations and stuff. Technically speaking, at BAFTA, because they had British film and at least one other category, didn't they? Didn't it get into like costume design or something? Something like that. So, oh boy. Plus that voter overlap too. That voter overlap. So it's weird. I have Carrie Condon in third, and yet I feel like there's still a solid chance that in a weird thing, if Angela and Jamie Lee, who are both kind of going for the career achievement thing, what if they knock each other off and it leaves Carrie to pick up the dust? I don't know. That would be weird. That would be super weird. But I think it's a viable scenario. Out of just in the last couple days, I've thought about it, and now I think it's a viable scenario. Oh boy, yeah. So today I have Angela Bassett, but tomorrow I might have Carrie Condon. The next day I might have Jamie Lee Curtis. I might go switch back to Angela by Friday. I don't know. This is it's a good, if anybody was complaining and bitching about last year being too easy to predict the Oscars, no, this is a different year. Some of the categories are secure. You've got your gimmies. You've got some gimmies this year. But other categories are total coin flips, or in this case, a scenario where you've got to point at least 3 contenders and say, you've got a legit shot, you've got a shot, you've got, okay, maybe a path. So we can't dismiss you. So, yeah. Oh, boy. That's another one, too, where I might see if there's any, how much love is out there for somebody like a Carrie Condon. Or how much love is out there for Angela Bassett. Is anybody talking about her anymore? Kind of thing. Because, again, I feel like all the heat that was on her just coming off of the Critics' Choice and the Globe wins, that has really cooled off. And it's been a while since we had those. And a lot has happened since then. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. And what's weird, too, though, before we get to the next categories, what's weird, too, is Angela Bassett, at the Globes and at Critics' Choice, both times Black Panther was not up for Best Picture. So, it's weird. And as far as I can remember, Creed was not up for Best Picture at either Critics' Choice or the Golden Globes. So, yeah. You see what I mean? It's kind of it's not as easy as some people would have said a few weeks ago. Okay, original screenplay. This I've had Everything Everywhere All at Once for a while here, and I'm sticking with it. The WGA win was significant, even though we knew Banshees was not eligible at WGA. The only other place... Now, Banshees did win at the Globes, again, where they favored Banshees over Everything Everywhere All at Once. And it also won at BAFTA, again, another place where they liked Banshees more than Everything Everywhere. So, and I like the idea of your Best Picture winner also taking screenplay as well. This also fits into the mold of something like Get Out, where the most original screenplay is going to win. So... That's where my head's at least. On the adapted side, this felt a little more competitive here a couple weeks ago, but since then, the U.S. Scripter, the WGA prize, it's all going toward women talking. It didn't have any support from BAFTA, but even with that, even without that, I think women talking, since it does have true, All Quiet on the Western Front and Top Gun, also in this category, if in case you need reminded, are also up for Best Picture, but neither one of them feel like a traditional win here. Women Talking, based on a play, right? I hope so. I think I heard that right, because again, that's one I haven't been able to see, but based on a play, it feels like a traditional winner here, versus Top Gun and All Quiet on the Western Front, which are, quote-unquote action movies. Yeah, that's, they don't win screenplay prizes. That's just not how these things go. Let's get to the feature categories here, and I feel like we've got 2 for sure and 1 that's a very likely with the feature categories here this year. Pinocchio in animated feature, that feels done. Navalny, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you to the person that pointed that out. Navalny, that has really overtaken All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. As some people pointed out, the subject matter of the doc, kind of like the was it a bicycle one or whatever it was a couple years ago? when that one started gaining some momentum because of the timeliness of it, that, kind of was a similar trend. It was like a bicycle, whatever the clip was from the actual award show, I remember, but it was like a guy on a bike or something. Whatever one that was, it just won a couple years ago, and it was kind of an upset in the category. So, yeah. So I'm predicting, with that one, the wind, I think, has shifted on that one. So Navalny for doc feature. International feature, All Quiet on the Western Front. Yep, that feels done to me. That feels good. So let's get into the tech categories here. And some of these tech categories, some years you can kind of predict them pretty easily. Other years, like potentially this year, you've got a couple real chances for some upsets here. Cinematography, especially with the win by Elvis, who was Mandy Walker. I think that's her. I think that's the name. Yes, Mandy Walker. There you go. I nailed it. She was the first winner to be a female there at the ASC Awards. Yep, I got that right. But at the same time, though, I don't know. This the thing is, and I kind of said this early on in the nominations phase there, right after the nominees were announced. I felt like with that we needed more buzz. We needed more buzz on her being, the first potential winner. Rachel Morrison got a lot more buzz the year of Mudbound when she was nominated, the first female cinematographer nominated. But we all knew Roger Deakins was winning that year. This is a little bit of a different scenario. There's not as much buzz on Mandy until we get to the stage where final voting is happening, and then she wins, okay. And Elvis is also a movie that seems like, okay, it could be kind of like a Bohemian Rhapsody. It could be one of these films that actually does pretty well in the tech categories and scores a few tech category wins. So it's kind of trending up. At the same time, though, don't forget, All Quiet on the Western Front was a movie that did very, very, very well at BAFTA. And how much of that is just BAFTA love the movie versus, okay, how much of that is also voter crossover? All Quiet on the Western Front is tied with Banshees for second most nominations. I feel like at the moment I have All Quiet on the Western Front, but I want to let that one sit with me a little bit longer and see if I want to change that and see if anything else sits better with me afterwards. But it's one of those two, I think. I don't really sense a major upset from Deakins here or from the other two, Bardo or from Tar. I feel like All Quiet on the Western Front and Elvis are the two it comes down to. And again, at the moment, I think if there's a bigger outcry here in the next couple days as final voting concludes, and we say, let's get a female up there, in a major tech category like this. Because obviously we all know it's like, dozens of times we've seen women win for like costume design. And makeup especially. We've seen, has any females ever won for film editing? I feel like we've had at least one, haven't we? Oh, Verna Fields, yeah, of course. Yeah, we've seen some win for editing. Not as much, recent years as far as I can remember. Production design, we've had a few female winners in there. Score, we had, Hildur win a couple years ago now. So, this feels like one where it's like, hey, we can crack this one. We can get a female winner in this category. Again, one where we've only seen two previous nominees, too. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, is that not what happened with director when Catherine Bigelow won? Because she was following two previous female nominees, one of which went on to win later, which is Jane Campion. That's actually correct. I believe my math is correct on that. Mandy Walker is our third female cinematographer nominated. Catherine Bigelow, I believe, was our our third female director nominated, and she won. Now, keep in mind, she had the Best Picture winner that year, and it also won the most Oscars that night. So, yeah. So, it's not a direct comparison. But, I don't know. That could line up. I need to sit on that just a little bit longer before I make a final decision on it. That might be a coin flip category for me. Film editing. This one, for whatever reason, even though Ace Eddie went with Everything Everywhere All at Once in the comedy category, which was likely to happen, it was Top Gun that won dramatic editing. This, to me, feels like Ford v. Ferrari. And remember, Ford v. Ferrari was a, somewhat popular movie in 2019. Top Gun, a lot more popular. Not only with the general public, but more nominations than Ford v. Ferrari. I don't feel like Top Gun has to settle for just best sound. I think it's going to get editing too. And I'm maybe a little more bullish than some, but I see Top Gun winning this category. Maybe not handily, but I think it wins this, and I think a lot of people are overthinking Everything Everywhere All at Once. Or I could be overthinking it because two of the major precursors went with it in film editing, one of which was BAFTA, and it was the only place they could find to award Everything Everywhere All at Once, was of all categories, film editing, which is weird. The only way it could have been weirder was if somehow Top Gun had been nominated more places than Everything Everywhere All at Once over at BAFTA, but that wasn't quite the case. But yeah, this feels like a Ford v Ferrari thing to me. So, yeah. Yeah, maybe I haven't need to update my rankings here, but I have Everything Everywhere All at Once in third place, actually. I had Elvis above it. That's weird. Yeah, I have that switch now, but yeah. But still, yeah, I don't know. That feels like one where it's like, okay, I would get it, and maybe I'm just being stubborn, and I'm just being, kind of a blockhead about it, and in not picking Everything Everywhere All at Once. And it is true that film editing and Best Picture do like to line up, but that hasn't really been the case the last few years, has it? Nomadland, it didn't. I don't think it was even nominated for, or it was nominated, right? Well, we know Coda was not nominated last year. That was the first film since Grand Hotel, really since the editing category. Well, yeah, it was the first film to win Best Picture without an editing or director nomination since either category has been established. We know we've seen some Best Picture winners not up for film editing. I think Nomadland was one of them, right? Or was that in? I can't even remember anymore. I think that one missed. Watch me be wrong here. If I can find the list of winners at the Academy Awards that year. Here it is. It was up for editing. Okay. Yeah, I was overthinking it. Well, we know that Birdman was not up for editing. Green Book was, and that's maybe something we overthought. Roma was not up for editing, though, as I recall. Yeah, so maybe that's the stat I'm thinking of. Because I'm like, well, we saw one other one lose, not even be nominated for film editing. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Because Parasite was nominated. Nomadland was nominated. Obviously, yeah, Coda would be the primary one there. But I thought in between we had one other one that was not up for film editing. But like Moonlight was, Spotlight was. So yeah, and that's Shape of Water we know was. So yeah, that's not the case there. But where was I going with that? Oh, the editing and picture lining up. Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong here. Our last film editing winner to line up with Best Picture was Argo, was it not? Am I overthinking this? Because Dune won last year, and that didn't win. Sound of Metal won the year before that. That didn't win. You go back. Let's keep going here. Ford v Ferrari, no. Bo Rap, no. Dunkirk, no. Hacksaw Ridge, no. Mad Max, no. Whiplash, no. Gravity, no. There you go, Argo. And even before that, you've got two in a row that did not win Best Picture. And then you get some where it's like, The Departed, Crash, Return of the King, Chicago, Titanic, English Patient, Forrest Gump, on through the years. Yeah, there are other ones that win. So it's been a while since editing and picture have not lined up, or have lined up, rather. Yeah, I don't know. Argo felt like it had some limited places where it could win that year, we knew. But Everything Everywhere All at Once, it feels like, no, there's definitely places it can win, and some places where it might surprise us and win. So, some people talking about the music categories, which we'll get to. But, yeah. Anyway, so Elvis, though, I do have winning for costume design. This one I feel a little better in. I know early on everybody was saying, it was going to be Ruthie Carter again, but I don't know. I feel like Elvis is not going to go home empty-handed. I think this is at least one category we can point to and say it's probably got it. It's not locked up, but let me go back, because this is one where I do need to look back and see who the Costume Designers Guild, who they went with for their picks there. Let's see. Period went to Elvis, and Period is usually the one that carries over. There are exceptions, but it was like Period costumes went there. Film fantasy costumes went to Everything Everywhere All at Once, which again that was pointing to one of my guild wins. Okay, so I did remember that one. So Black Panther couldn't even win in that category. Contemporary, by the way, was Glass Onion, but I don't think anybody from Contemporary was up for costumes this year. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of that one. Production design, I'm very, very split on this. I had Avatar for a long time, but it feels like, yeah, Avatar is just going to be an effects and that's it kind of movie there. Elvis could win here because, it could, repeat what happened with Moulin Rouge, where Catherine Martin can win in the same two places she won there. She also won for these two films for Great Gatsby. But, kind of like we were talking about, the last time you had a non-Best Picture winner win for production design, it was The Great Gatsby. We could see another non-Best Picture nominee win here, and that's Babylon, actually. And it's weird, because Babylon, it won here for production design at Critics' Choice. BAFTA also went with that one, did they not? Just in the last couple seconds here, I've forgotten what they went with, but I think it was Babylon. Or am I not remembering that correctly? Nope, they went with Babylon. Yeah, that's right. And if you peek at the Guild too, look at the Guild. Let me bring up that one because I'm pretty sure they went with the same thing, did they not? Okay, now I can't find it here. Hold on. I tried to go back just one page and it took me back 6 pages, so now I can't find it again. Producers Guild, Art Directors Guild. There you are. With this one, yeah, Period went to Babylon over Elvis. Fantasy, again, went to Everything Everywhere All at Once, but that's not one of the few places where Everything Everywhere is not nominated at the Oscars. And again, it was Glass Onion that won for Contemporary. So yeah, Babylon feels like, the pretty solid choice here. And it could be Elvis. They could just, again, go with the Best Picture nominee here, or one of the Best Picture nominees, because the other 4 are up for Best Picture. But, and again, I'd have to check here, but I think the year of Great Gatsby winning, I think it beat 4 Best Picture nominees, did it not? I need to remember what else was up that year for production design. Wait. Hold on. There might have been at least one that was not up for production design that year. Hold on. Sorry, one production design nominee that was not up for Best Picture that year. Nope, it had 4. Yeah, it beat Her, 12 Years a Slave, Gravity, and American Hustle. So yeah, it beat 4 Best Picture nominees. There you go. History repeats itself. I say let's go with that one. Okay, next up, let's go to the music categories here, starting with original score. This one, here's the thing. A lot of people are picking Babylon here, but I'm thinking the BAFTA winner. I'm thinking All Quiet on the Western Front. Again, I feel like with the cinematography category, I feel like some of that voting overlap is going to show itself here and there at BAFTA, or BAFTA to the Oscars. It tends to do that. In recent years here. So I feel like this is one where it can happen. Plus, it's like, okay, everybody thought, okay, John Williams is a great way to award him and stuff. He started missing out on stuff early, and now he's nominated, and even then he's kind of walked back those retirement talks. So I feel like I've got him in second, which feels weird. I probably should have Babylon in second, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like now that he's talked, kind of walking back the retirement talk, and he might work with a couple more Spielberg projects down the line, or at least start, doing some themes and stuff, and then Spielberg can choose to do them if he wants to, if John Williams can't finish it due to health or anything else. But we're not going to talk about that part. But what's weird too is with Babylon, it felt like that one took off early, and then it hasn't really kept up the momentum much. On top of, okay, at the Globes, it was a Best Picture nominee and stuff, or a Best Film Comedy Musical nominee. Critics' Choice, if I remember right, did not have Babylon in the list, but it still won there. Yeah, and since then, All Quiet has, done well BAFTA and stuff, so I don't know, I feel like that. But one thing I want to mention, where the hell are people coming from on Everything Everywhere All at Once upsetting here? Just in the last couple of days, I've heard this or the song category. Some people are picking it in one or the other. Some are picking it in both just to try to get that upset win correct. and I'm like, guys, where are you getting this from? I just don't get it. Not to say that the score for either or the song in the film, not to say either one are bad. For me, I thought Everything Everywhere All at Once early on, I thought had a shot at getting into score. I didn't really buy it much in song, but after a while, I was like, yeah, it's just not making any lists. Yeah, it's just not sticking around. So I kind of wrote it off. But boom, then it shows up. Yeah, I don't know if people are saying just because there's possibly some split voting going on between some of the other nominees, but I don't know where that is coming from, and I'm not buying it. And I'm especially not buying it in the song category. If it was going to upset anywhere, I agree. Score, just in these two categories, I agree. Score is the one it can happen in, but song that belongs to RRR. I've said Triple R the whole year, but I've never heard anybody else call it Triple R, so I'm going to abandon that and call it RRR like everyone else does. So Not To has this pretty much on lockdown. This feels like one of the more secure categories for me. So I don't know why I've seen some people switch to This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere. I just do not buy it at all. Makeup and hairstyling. This is the one where it's like, okay, I felt like I was going against the grain for a little bit here because I did make a switch not too long ago. But now I feel like now everyone else has made the switch too. Elvis. I have Elvis picked in this category, actually. Which is, again, weird because I don't have it picked in Best Actor. Where it felt like, okay, because we've seen that makeup and an acting prize line up, sometimes. But not this time. Not this time. Remind me again, last year we had a chance to line up a thing like that, didn't we? We might have too. I just can't remember off the top of my head. Makeup last year went to Eyes of Tammy Faye. That one did line up. Okay. That one did line up. That's true. Because Jessica Chastain won. The other thing, too, I'll go back to the Makeup Guild as well, because Makeup Guild favored Elvis here, if I remember correctly. Pretty sure they did. Let's go... Okay, almost there. Because the Whale did have a win here in the special makeup effects, and Elvis was nominated there and lost. It did win for character makeup effects. Elvis did. But and it also won for its hairstyling as well, which we knew the Whale was not going to be a major player there. Contemporary makeup, by the way, did go to Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is again another thing where the guild is virtually all the guilds gave it something if it had a major player there. I think cinematography probably being the one big exception, but even I think one of the sound guilds gave or the sound guild now I think gave Everything Everywhere All at Once something. But yeah, early on I was like, okay, this could be a year where they split, and they go with Elvis here, and they go with Brendan Fraser for actor. And again, it's like some of the trolls, so to speak, that after the Austin Butler win, they kind of started to pile on to Brendan Fraser and say, well, it's just really the fat suit doing all the work. When you think about it in the makeup category, the fat suit is the major thing with the makeup here. There's, that's kind of about it, So I get that argument, and I think... in this case, I'm actually going to side with it. I'm going to say, yeah, Elvis wins here. Let's see, we're getting there. Sound category, this feels like the most secure spot for Top Gun to win. I've heard some say, okay, just go with the war film, go with All Quiet on the Western Front, but that's not nearly as many people who are picking are picking Top Gun. Avatar, visual effects, that feels done. The shorts categories, I don't know. I went with all the favorites last year, and we had an upset. It was the only category that I think me and probably about 12 other people in the world missed. Well, sorry, I should correct that. I got it wrong. Only about 9 or 10 people got it right, but still, I feel like I'm not really sure. Again, if there's going to be an upset, which one is the upset here? Let's see. I'm going to double check here. Is strange? Which one is the? Oops, hold on a minute. Sorry, I need to look again at the one that has. What's her? I'm forgetting her name here. Malala, I think. Yeah, here we go. Which is the one that she was involved in? Was it Stranger at the Gate? Is the one she's involved in? This year. Let's see here. Hold on a minute. Um, yeah, I remember the documentary, which I believe won. Um, but what was there was one she was involved in, one of the shorts here. And I can't remember if it was doc short or live action short. I need to look this up a little bit further. Here, hold on a minute. It is Stranger at the Gate. Okay, I overthought it. I was looking through it again. Because here's the thing, in that's a documentary short. And since the nominations came out, I thought Elephant Whisperers felt like the one that generally people went with. And it's weird, when I first did this, I don't think I've switched my things at all here, but it's weird because since I put this in, I had Stranger at the Gate in 5th place. Yeah, after seeing that and the press off of that and everything, I don't think she's she's not a nominee on it, so she doesn't get an Oscar for it. But again, if you want to go against the grain in one of these short categories, that feels like the one to me. That's the one where you pick Stranger at the Gate over Elephant Whisperers. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse feels like the win in animated short. Since you do have another animal one there with the ostrich one, at least one, right? I don't think the other ones have animals in them. So there could be some infighting there, and you could see something else win. The Pupil feels pretty safe from live action short. I haven't heard way too many of the other ones making too big a fuss there. So yeah, and some years I just go with the traditional picks that everybody does in those categories. Helium, I remember when that won, whichever category that was. I remember I went against the grain on that one, and it paid off, and I got it right. That's one of the only times I've picked picked an outsider and gotten it right. And I feel like it's a bandwagon thing now that I'm picking Stranger at the Gate. A lot of people, I think, have started going towards it here in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. But it's true. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I'm like, yeah, it's still not favored on a couple sites here. And I think IndieWire, I think, now has it out front. Let me see. I haven't looked up their thing here in a hot minute. But I think they had Stranger at the Gate picked out to win now in Doc Short. Let's see. Have they updated it? Let's see, sorry. This is a list for who they think is going to get nominated. That's weird. When was this updated? February 6th. Okay, that was after the nominations, so... That is weird. What page am I on an outdated page or something? Oh, no, here we go. Listed in order... likelihood how they will win. Okay, they do have Stranger... Okay, never mind. Yeah, I thought I was looking at an outdated page. But no, they do have Stranger at the Gate ahead. Gold Derby, at least, on their odds, they still have Elephant Whisperers ahead. So I guess if just by that I'm going against the grain. But I'm lining up with what IndieWire is saying. Which, by the way, how are they doing on Best Actress? I haven't looked at them. They have Michelle ahead. And Supporting Actress. Are they sticking... Who are they sticking with here? They have Angela Bassett there. They do have Carrie Condon in second, though, which I think is wise. Let's see here. Yeah, they don't... Yeah, the last thing they've updated here, they're not talking about too much about any argument for one or the other. I don't know why my computer's getting so warm all of a sudden here, but oh well. We're at the end here, guys, so yeah. We've only got a few days left, like I said, before the Oscar Oscar winners are announced. So, yeah, I know some of my thoughts here feel a little all over the place, and a lot of these are categories where I'm looking at them, and yeah, I haven't really 100% made up my mind. Usually by this time in the race, it's like, okay, you do have maybe one or two categories that you're shaky on, and then you end up lining up with, one side or the other. But this year, it's like, it's not only a few, it's more than a handful. I'd say actor, actress, supporting actress, a couple of those tech categories. I'm looking at changing a couple of those around before we get to the end of it. I feel, there's some gimmies this year. I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once for picture and director feels really safe. Two of the feature categories feel really safe. Visual effects feels really safe. The song category feels pretty safe. But, yeah, I don't know. Supporting actor feels very, very safe. But, yeah, other than that, it's like, okay, there's a few categories here and there where it's like, yeah, it's one or the other. But there are some where it's like legit. You look at 3 or 4 different contenders and say, okay, let's hash this out. This is kind of tough. So, all right, I think that's all I got for now. I will be back either Friday or Saturday, and I will hand out my final predictions for who's going to win. And we'll be back on Sunday. We'll just recap it after the award show. We'll talk about what I got right, what I got wrong, what lessons we can pick up from this season, so on and so forth. Because I feel like at the end of every year, there's always those lessons that we can learn. Last year, less so, because, okay, I can humble brag, I got the 20 out of 21, but that's probably not going to happen again this year. I'd be shocked if anybody's able to totally maneuver this and get it perfect, but we will see. We will see.